I'm Leigh Brown. This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate. Today, I'm bringing you Bethany Brokaw from the great state of Michigan to talk about her journey all the way from single mom as an assistant to the owner of multiple offices in real estate. Her story is one that's going to inspire you, so you're going to enjoy this one. I'll see you on the other side. Look at your cute little eye highlighter, matches your shirt. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
I just recently learned about highlighter myself, but it's only in the corners. My daughter, who's 20, told me I need to watch YouTube and learn how to put makeup on. And I said, thank you, but that was ugly.
And it's so funny you say that because I literally only put it here too, like just there.
Oh, that's funny. So maybe it just, like everything else in life, just kind of migrates downward.
It's brow bone highlighter, and it's probably just the lighting making it look like I might actually have on eyeshadow.
I don't know, but it's very brightening, and that's what we're supposed to do now, I think.
Yes, and that's what I read.
It's a lot to absorb. It's a lot different, but that's why I have to buy the eyeshadow, this 1, 2, 3, 4, so I know where to put it.
Yep, that's the truth.
Yeah. So good morning, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Good morning, good afternoon for me.
Oh, it is afternoon now. Well, it was morning 6 minutes ago, so that's fine.
Yep, exactly.
Yay. Well, tell my audience, who is Bethany Brokaw? Where are you located in Michigan? How long you been in real estate? Give us a little bit of background, and then we'll just start chatting a little bit.
Sounds good. So I'm an accidental real estate broker. It was all God's plan, not my plan. I'm in southeastern Michigan. We all like to do this. So I'm located right around there. I have 2 offices. One's in Davison, Michigan, which is a suburb of Flint, and the other's in Lake Orion, Michigan, which would be a little closer to Detroit, about 35 minutes from Detroit. So about 22 years ago, I was pregnant and alone, and I had a friend from high school that said, come work for me. And he was a realtor. And I said, will you let me bring the baby to work? And he said, yeah, you can bring the baby to work. I said, okay, I'll come work for you. So now I have a 14-year-old and then the adult daughter. They were both potty trained in real estate offices. I started out as an assistant to an assistant. So I'm beyond ground level. I put signs in the yard, helped people clean their houses and moved for $10 an hour. He used to pay me $25 an open house, and I would do 4 to 6 every weekend. And as I did that, I was putting myself through college. I changed my major from pre-law to secondary education Spanish just because I wanted a safe career that had health insurance for the babies. So I was a 100% single mom, meaning no financial or physical support. So when I say 100%, I mean it was my daughter, and then 7 years later, I made the mistake of dating again my second daughter. It was always just us. There was not anybody to help every other weekend or any income or anything. And so I moved up from being assistant to an assistant to executive assistant to office manager to started recruiting for his team. And he says to me one day, you need to get your real estate license. And I said, no, I'm not working commission. I don't want a commission job. I have babies. I have, a house payment. I'm not working commission. And that night I talked to my best friend, and she said, if you just sell 1 extra house a year, think about it. It'll help you and the girls.
Oh, she's good, because that's the sales trick that's been used on us by everybody ever.
Yeah. And so that's what did it. I thought, oh, she's right. Just 1 house could give us some financial relief, because if we were digging, I was digging us out of poverty. I mean, I drove the worst car in the parking lot. I paid my bills late every other month so they won't get shut off. We lived on a strict budget. We had $100 a month for food. I had coupons. I mean, it was crazy. And so I got my real estate license my senior year in college. I had put myself through college at the University of Michigan in Flint. And first showing I ever went on that first week, sold that house. I sold 47 houses my first year. I realized within 2 months, this is actually what I was meant to do. Like every ounce of my training up till that point, even my legal background, contract negotiations, customer management experience, all my roles had always been leadership roles at all my previous jobs, prepared me for this. And I had no idea how rewarding it could be, because I didn't want the sales job, but I care about people. And I've been able to travel the world through my clients. I'll never forget the one gal. She was the 4th generation in the United States. No one had ever owned a home in her family. And we were able to get her a home and be the first homeowner. And I have stories like that for days, but It was actually rewarding, and I've always been such a hard worker. It was the first career I ever had that the work that I put into came back to me.
Mhm.
And so from there, I ended up working on a team, completely quit the assisting role, went from that to having my own team back in 2015. And now I've had my own independent boutique brokerage for 7.5 years. And about 8 months ago is when we opened our commercial division, which has a different commercial principal broker who's female as well. And opened the other office, which again, I didn't plan on. This is all his plan, not my plan, his plan. And so now we have two offices and I think 22 or three agents and a awesome admin team of 4 or 5. And I'm a little obsessed. I would say I love it, but I've learned I like it for sure, but I'm a little obsessed. So I probably do love it. I catch myself nonstop paying attention to everything and everything real estate.
Well, I think that's the difference between the ones who make it a career and the ones who dabble in it. It gets in your blood and
Mhm.
we know we're supposed to turn it off. I know I'm not supposed to look at my phone at night. I cannot stop because of the clients on the other end. It's the same thing you're talking about there. It's like, I know they're up, so I'm gonna check on them. Although I'm much better at this age in my career to tell them I go to bed at 9 o'clock, so probably not gonna get back to you after 9 o'clock. But in my early days, it was 24/7, and it not because anybody told me to. It was
Yeah.
because I could. We have that control, and then we don't exhibit any control because we just let it take our lives over, but it's the most addictive business.
Right. No, you're completely right. It is. And also in our business, I mean, people do want instant gratification. And if we're not willing to get back to them right away, let's be honest, especially with the internet these days, the internet clickers, they could get online and click. And that said, my clients are amazingly loyal and wonderful, but they can go somewhere else. So we're constantly forced to be available and be on at all times in order to succeed. And like one time I just showed 32 houses in a day with the girls in the back seat, ducking down because I'm a professional. So my clients did not know my kids were with me. And they're, yeah, ducking down. They had snacks packed, little movies, books, and yeah, done it all. But I love real estate. Real estate took me literally out of poverty. I'm the American dream. I went from being literally in poverty to now I'm blessed to have offices and I get to stare at a lake every day that was my dream lake to live on since I was a kid. So it's amazing. I'm a fan.
And it's not because anybody hands anything to anybody in real estate. Because even if you're the child of a realtor, which I am, my dad didn't hand me things. It was, "I'll give you knowledge, but you have to go get up and go do it." Now, I
Right,
will point out to all my listeners and viewers out there, we are not suggesting that you need to work 24/7. That is wildly unhealthy.
right,
But
right.
you get to make the choice, and so if I choose to not work on Sundays because I don't work on Sundays, I do lose some business from people who want a Sunday realtor, but I'm okay with that, and so you have to know that everything that Bethany and I are talking about is about the specific choices that we make.
Mhm.
Now, you didn't have as much freedom when it was at the beginning of your career, and it's you, and you gotta provide for those girls. You did work more than you wanted to because of necessity, and then as you grow into the business, you then get to choose, and so you also have to remember there's definitely a pay your dues moment in real estate, and I wish more of our young licensees understood that coming in is going to be a season of sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head perfectly because I have a rule now too. On Sundays, I won't ever take an appointment till it's after 1 p.m. I'm non-negotiable on missing church. I
Right.
just won't do it. I will lose a client for it, like you said, and I'm at peace with that and I'm comfortable. But as you said earlier, yeah, I've beyond paid my dues. And the nice thing about that too is you can get to the point in your career where your clients will wait for you depending on the situation as well, because they know that I'm an advocate for them. They know that I'm going to fight for them. They know that I know, I'm going to take the best care of them.
Alright, so, I first of all have to point out you live near my favorite town in Michigan. You know my favorite town in Michigan, right?
Is it Frankenmuth?
It's Frankenmuth. I'm a Frankenmuth girl, and in fact, my best day I ever spent with my mom was I gave her a surprise Christmas a couple years ago. I bought us plane tickets on December 23rd, didn't tell her we were going. I put her on a plane with me, and we flew to Detroit, drove to Frankenmuth, spent all day at Bronner's. Of course, I did not make her go to Zender's to eat because I still don't understand the allure of their food. It's just there's nothing to it for me, but it was the best day ever. I love where you live in Michigan. So, of course, there's people that are listening to this that heard you say you sold 47 houses your first year.
Mhm.
If you look back at your beginning in real estate, besides the fact that you were willing to work, where did you find 47 houses to sell, sister?
Well, this was back in the days after the market crashed. I was blessed in the sense that I was in an administrative capacity for about 6 years before I got my license. So I came in the door with that license being fully trained, which was an advantage, a huge
Huge.
advantage. But believe it or not, we used to start calling old stale leads. My boss at the time used to pay years before that for it was US HUD. They're still around, I think. It's not even the real HUD home store website.
They are. They called me yesterday trying to sell me leads, and I told her, I'm like, do not call me trying to sell me leads.
Yeah, and he would pay for that, and so we had pages because this is even before people were properly using CRMs and such. So he would print pages and pages of just names and phone numbers, and I would call stale leads, like 5-year-old leads, nonstop, again and again, because eventually you get to someone, and I did always go into the call with a relationship. I never just said, "Oh, do you want to?" It's, "Hey, we're updating our database. You know, it looks like you inquired this long ago. Are you still interested?" And every 30 calls or so, or 40 calls, I'd get a real person on the phone and they'd actually want to talk and then I'd help them. And I was by far primarily a buyer's agent the first 3 to 4 years of my career. The most sales I ever did by myself in a year was 98. All of them but one were buy side. Can you imagine?
No, that's how do you like that's the balancing act of balancing acts, balls in the air, 50,000 balls in the air. Holy smokes, by yourself?
Yeah, well, I did have a part-time administrative assistant, but not
Well,
licensed.
thank heavens for that assistant.
Yes, and, I've worked really hard at night too after I would get the babies to bed building systems. I'm very much into systems. If you're gonna do something once, don't keep doing it, don't keep repeating yourself, and so I built a lot of systems through, like, Google Workspace and this and that and templates and ways to work smarter, not harder, because to me, as I got out of, "Oh my gosh, I'm not poor anymore," the next dream became time. Like, now I wanna see my kids. I can pay our bills, but I wanna see my kids. And so I worked very, very hard at working smarter, not harder, which is how I was even able to do that. And now, though I've completely changed my business, I'm about 85% of my sales a year are sellers. So I really did a with it, because I'm sure, as you know, it's a little less time consuming. It is. They're both very important roles and different, but I'm able to breathe a little more, having a lot more listings than being on the road all the time.
Well, and there's a personality difference too that I've discovered with buyers and sellers. Some agents are not good with very direct bottom line conversations. And with most home sellers, you have to be able to drive to the bottom line because they've got to be comfortable with the numbers. And you're going to have to sometimes tell them things they don't want to hear about condition and price and the market and upgrades and all those pieces. Whereas with buyers, it's far more of the warm and fuzzy, nurtury personality type, which is why
Yeah.
I'm better with sellers. I'm just not very warm and fuzzy, although I fake it really well on the video, and I can tell by the way that you run your business that you are very skilled with sellers, and you probably run out of energy with buyers who want to go hang out and drink a glass of wine and be buddies. And I really enjoy my buyers, but
Right.
I'm at the end of the day, I'm just done.
And you are right. It's a different skill set. You have to have thicker skin almost to do more listings because I was so used to my clients loving me and adoring me, as you said, on the buy side. Once you switch to the sell side, it doesn't matter if you moved mountains, did this, went the extra mile, they loved you, but gosh forbid you could not get that closing at the exact time they wanted. All of a sudden, you're not their favorite anymore. And there's so many uncontrollable feats and factors. And like you said, the hard conversations, the, price adjustments, the, "Hey, I know we were supposed to close in an hour and now we're not, and this is why." And those are tougher. And actually one of my top agents said to me once, "I don't like sellers, Beth. I'll just keep taking all the buyers. Like, this is too hard. I don't know how you do it." He's like, I like people to keep loving me. I'm not doing sellers anymore." So it's like plus and minuses to both, but they are different.
And I wish more agents would be comfortable admitting that about themselves because there's nothing wrong with working with buyers and sellers. But when you start to identify where you're stronger, then play to those strengths. It's what helps you survive and become the owner of 2 offices with a new commercial division after all these years in the business. All right, so you've been down a lot of different pathways. When you look back at the beginning of your career and how you started in the administrative side, do you give that advice to new licensees now that they find a way in before they become a salesperson so they have the knowledge, or is that just something you think was a lucky day for you?
Somewhat. I do encourage people, if they're ever able to do that because they will get such a good background and basis on even just the programs we use every day. Everything from just even the MLS to showing time, because there's just so many different programs you have to learn. The state licensing exam does not prepare anyone to handle people's largest financial transactions of their lives, as we know, not at all. And dependent upon where they work, they may or may not even provide training. Whereas at least in an administrative role, it can let you know what is the day to day like? What are these programs we use? What is this? And also, it can sometimes help people know maybe this isn't for them
Right.
because real estate, especially publicly on Facebook, I like to call it fake book because let's be honest, it's
That's
fake.
fair.
It's fake. Even me, you're only going to see positive things from me on Facebook. Because I'm not going to be one of those people on Facebook. But anyhow, people just see the wins. They see the glory. They see how much we love our clients. They see us traveling. They think this is fun and easy and I'm going to make all this money. And they don't know about the 12-hour. I still do 12-hour days now and then. The days I had 15-hour days, the days I was leaving my house at 3 in the morning, leaving a note for my 14-year-old. So she woke up to know to babysit her sister. So I could drive an hour away and plug in space heaters in the basement of one of my vacant listings that the propane tank ran out and their pipes were going to freeze. And he lives far away. And so I'm buying space heaters at Meyer and driving there at 3 in the morning. And they don't see, the stuff behind the facade. And sometimes it's good for them to see it because oftentimes they'll say, maybe this isn't for me. We make it look so easy, I do think. We don't really talk about the hard stuff and the hurts and the heartbreak. I've really had to make my skin tough. I mean, there's real estate is just hard. It is. I love it, but it's hard. And people don't realize that. And to be successful every day, you have to be okay with failure. I tell everyone we either win or we learn. We win or we learn. It's okay. We just learn.
I like that. We win or we learn. That might just have to be the title of our episode here at the 19-minute recording mark. We'll let the team know that because I love that. I was just having a conversation with myself in the mirror earlier today about failure. And I'm not a failure, but I do have failures.
Right.
And there's two different things. And too often, real estate, because it's such a personal business and it's so emotional, when
Mhm.
things don't go right, we think we are nothing and we are failure. No, I have failures. I have to fix it and then learn so I can win the next time.
Right.
Because if anything, this business teaches us things every single day. All right. So you obviously have all the years, all the experience. You must have a story you want to tell my audience about something you've seen, experienced, or just still can't believe it happened to you or around you in real estate. What's the story you came with us today?
I actually have quite a few because of I've definitely been on thousands of showings through the years. One of my favorite ones was when I was a newer agent. So at this point, I had only maybe showed 15 homes ever and had an approved showing. We go in the house, we take off our shoes, we're going through, we get upstairs to the primary suite. And as I start to walk in the room, I hear a little noise and I look, and there's a completely nude male adult on his bed, like this, sleeping. So I'm horrified and I'm new too. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And I always would do a courtesy knock if the house was occupied. I never just would bust in a house. And I'm trying to tap my clients like, let's go, let's get out of here. That was pretty horrifying. I also have opened sheds and had massive birds fly out on my head, like massive turkeys to knock us down. I have saw in basements possums, squirrels, rats, mice, bats, frog snakes. One of my favorite homes I almost sold during the home inspection, it had a crawl space. And once the inspector opened up the crawl space, some frogs came hopping out. There was an actual ecosystem down below. There was this much water and lily pads in there. It was literally like the rainforest under the house. Never saw anything like that ever, except
So there was enough water to have lily pads under the house?
yes, we think it had been this way for years, and there was a
Was
big
it vacant? Is it a vacant house?
no. Huh?
Is it a vacant house?
No, that's the worst part. It actually wasn't vacant. People were living in it. Living in it.
Did their disclosure document say that there was moisture in the crawl space?
No, but I will say in their defense, it was tough to get into the crawl space. They would have had to, use some power tools and open it up on the outside. And I've never
But
saw,
there were frogs in there and lily pads.
yeah, frogs and lily pads. I mean, it was just insane. We literally couldn't believe it. Like it was, I never saw anything like that ever. I didn't even know you could actually have an ecosystem in a crawl space till then, especially with the lack of sunlight. But maybe it just got through the little slats in the vents. I'm not
I mean,
sure.
I've seen a natural spring in a crawl space, but it was not to the level of lily pads and frogs.
Yeah, this was about this deep. It wasn't super deep, but deep enough for lily pads and frogs. They did not buy that house.
I was just about to ask you if they went ahead on this one, if they said, you know what, we're going to keep looking.
Yeah, we kept looking, which I think was very smart. That one needed a lot, a lot of work. It did.
So if you're in real estate and you're listening to this podcast or watching it and thinking, man, I need some more Leigh Brown answers in my life. Well, guess what, friends? I have a new program that is launching right now called Answers.Real Estate, where I will give you every bit of insight I have to help you grow your real estate business, help you better respond to consumers, to provide a more excellent real estate experience so that the next time you land on crazy shit in real estate, you'll have a better solution to whatever you ran into. Answers.Real Estate. There are monthly plans available. You will love it. Get your coaching. Sign up with me today.
During the, foreclosure days after the market crashed, I'm sure you saw this as well. A lot of the houses I showed would have some profanity on the walls towards banks.
Yes, they were not very happy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've even saw blood and feces smeared on walls before. Fortunately, I don't see that much anymore. That was mostly during those days. So I'm very thankful about that. One of the worst houses that I've ever shown had the sticky fly strips hanging from the ceiling. And there were so many flies in the air, as you walked
Inside the house, not in the carport or the shed, but in the house.
in the house, actually hanging. And it was in a nice, what you would consider a nice neighborhood, in demand, good area. There were so many flies in there, you could barely walk. They were stuck to the things. And that was just shocking. It was really shocking. Um, yeah, those are probably some of my craziest showing stories.
Yeah, for anybody who was making comments about me having a snake in my garage last week on Instagram, I just want to point out snakes are good. You won't find flies in my house. That's really gross. That's so bad. But I think you need to back up to the turkeys flying out of the shed, because I have this image of Alfred Hitchcock and the birds. And then I'm thinking about in Schitt's Creek when the mom was in the Crow movie. I love that program. Why were there turkeys in the shed?
They had literally just gotten in there. They weren't supposed to be in there. And that one was really one of my.
So they were squatter turkeys.
They were they were wild turkeys. They were not pet turkeys. It was a home in the country on about 5 or 6 acres. And I'm walking through the backyard with my clients, and I go to the shed to open it. And I just remember this bird, like this big, in the top, coming out, hit me in the head. I fell down screaming in front of them. Because it happened so fast, and I wasn't even paying attention to that, because unlike you, I'm afraid of snakes, though, like very, very afraid of snakes. I will scream and jump 2 feet in the air, which I normally could not do even if I was working out. But if I see a snake, I can jump high.
Good.
So I was looking for snakes more so in the grass as we were walking there, because I'm always looking for snakes in the country because I'm afraid of snakes. Opened it, and it was massive, like we have pretty big turkeys in Michigan. So huge turkey. He had just gotten there one day. The owners hadn't noticed. He was literally a wild turkey. So happy I had opened the doors, came out, hit me in the face. I'm on the ground screaming. My clients are like, what was that? And he's going away. And they bought the house, though. They still live there. They thought it was great that there was wild turkeys all around.
Did the turkey come back to his shed, or did he move on after that?
He moved on. He did. I think that he was afraid that people were going to come back. It was like his secret spot, and he didn't want people around.
I
He
mean,
was
that's
young.
fair. Every turkey needs privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. They need privacy. Exactly.
I mean, I guess the lesson to the consumer on that one would be if you have outbuildings, check them.
Hmm.
And then if a wild turkey has moved in, just leave the door open so he can release himself back to the wild.
Right. Definitely. And in final walkthroughs, check to make sure the air conditioner is still there. That's something I learned early in my career. We were doing a final walkthrough in a rural area, an area that does not really have any theft rate or anything on acreage. Everything was great. We get to the closing, everything's good, and my clients call me 2 hours later and say, "Oh, our air conditioning unit's not here." Like someone had just stolen it, and them and I did not notice. But again, you win or you learn. And I was fortunate that the sellers of the house, it was an estate, felt bad about it and replaced it right away, even though it was post closing. But in
Good.
reality, my clients might not have gotten that air conditioning unit. And due to the time of year, it wasn't something we were running. And even though we had walked around the house, it didn't dawn on one of us. I don't know why, we just didn't notice. So to this day, I am checking for air conditioning units at every house in the final walkthrough. Also, obviously, running water, making sure the hot water heater's working and all that, all just because of the stolen air conditioning unit in a place that you would never anticipate anything would be stolen from.
Well, and that is what happens in real estate is exactly how you describe it. You have a scenario that happens one time out of the blue, and now every other house, you have your own little personal tick. I'm going to check for this. I'm going to watch for this because we do see different things all the time. And talking about those air units, they were vanishing all the time during the Great Recession. The copper piping was vanishing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
downtown Detroit had the dollar house program because those houses had been stripped clean, and then you fast forward to today, and we don't have a big short sale and foreclosure crisis, but there's plenty of people that are stealing the metal from these units. So my investors are now caging their air units again, and we didn't have to do that for a while, but everything goes in cycles. And
Right.
if your air conditioner unit vanishes one time, you don't care to have that happen again.
Right. Exactly.
So in 22 years of real estate, what's the one lesson you've learned that you wish other agents would heed and they don't have to learn it the hard way like you did
Hmm. That's a great question because there's so many lessons in real estate. There are.
every day?
Just one of them would be get yourself educated and work under someone that will actually teach you something. So many people go into real estate and just go wherever because their friends there, this or that. But there's so much to learn. And this is people's largest financial transaction in their life. I'm very passionate about that. I personally get a little irritated um, when I'm dealing with people on the other end that don't get me wrong, I'm taking them down the street and around the corner and winning everything for my client. But I can't help but think in the back of my head the whole time, their client doesn't even know that they're not advocating for them, that they don't know what they're doing. They don't this, they don't do this. And that makes me sad that there's not more of a checks and balance system when agents are new. To me, there almost should actually be a rule that if you are new, your first year, you are only allowed to co-list with someone and you have to work directly under a broker or a team leader because it's night and day. I have a wonderful gal that works with me now that's an agent. She worked somewhere else for 3 years. So she has 3 years under her belt and she does a good amount of business, but she came to me because, as she said, Beth, I haven't learned anything. I don't know anything. Because now and then she would put something on Facebook and I would private message her, hey, just so you know, you probably shouldn't put that because of this. And I was saying it with love because,
Sure.
I'm like, you can get in trouble for that. Like, don't do this. And as funny as it sounds, I was literally just trying to help her because every day I always think, what does Jesus want me to do? Not what do I want to do? Because I would not be as good of a person. And I was really just trying to help her, but because of that, she started reaching out to me and one day said, "I'd like to really meet with you." And so I see where she's came from 3 years with these sales under her belt, and it makes me sad just because, and she's a wonderful person and she's already improved so much because she just wants to learn. She even said that. She said, "I need to learn the right way to do things. I need to know how to do it." But it was so shocking to me that she had been somewhere for 3 entire years and didn't know things that would be considered basic at my office.
Um,
Um, So one of the biggest learning lessons to anyone that's new in real estate would be you really need to pay attention about where you want to hang your license. It's not the people that are nonstop saying, come here, come here, come here, come interview with us. You almost don't want that. You almost want who's more particular about who they take on. What office has agents that are actually making an income and selling houses? What office either has a training program or a mentor or someone that's going to provide you with support so that you know what you're doing and that you're being watched, because that can make, in my opinion, a massive difference. And I've saw some agents out there now that I see so much potential in them, but they just haven't been taught. And I always think sometimes I want to even call them and say, oh, do you want to double your sales? Come work with me and I'm going to show you the light. I don't do that because I'm personally not really a recruiter. We're attraction based, which thank the good Lord, he just provides all that. However, it's people need to be much more picky about where they're hanging their license, and they really need to pay attention about the training that comes with that, because that can make or break an agent. In Michigan, 85% of people that get their real estate license are out of the business in 2 years. 85%. That's
Well, and it's also a good reminder to the consumer, if you're picking an agent, it's okay to ask them why they're with the brokerage. Ask them about their relationship with their broker, because if they're early in their career,
Mhm.
you might be fine picking somebody that's got a good broker that's going to backstop them and be available. You'll get two for the price of one. But if you've got somebody who's not seasoned and doesn't have that relationship where they can get an answer when they have a hiccup, because hiccups are going to happen,
Right.
it's very important. And I'm with you. I do wish there were an internship or an apprenticeship period in the business. I think it would be so good for the consumer if they knew calling one of us, we had some level of knowledge before we start representing what is for most people their biggest financial money they'll ever drop.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's that that's probably what actually makes me the saddest about the industry too. Just that I feel like our bar needs to be raised. I mean, this is my livelihood. This is my career. I love this industry. I'm passionate about it. I want to take the best care of my clients ever. However, because all we need to do is pass a licensing exam and pay some money to join some boards, our levels of expertise and knowledge are all over the place in the industry because there's not really any true yeah, everyone has to get some CE, but let's be honest, we know we can click online and people can just phone it in. I mean, it's sad but true.
It is, and I hate the online classes, but I fall into the trap too if I have to get this done, turn on the online class, but I'm always looking for one nugget I can use.
Right.
But I know how this works. It's people fast forward as long as they can, ride the clock out.
Yep.
They're not dialing into it. In fact, I am curious, in Michigan, how many continuing education hours do you need every year?
We have to have 1 hour every year of fair housing that just started last year.
Okay.
We have to have 2 hours of legal every year, and then otherwise it's 18 hours every 3-year cycle, but that includes those 3 required hours per year. So really you only need 9 electives per 3 years, but you have to have the 2 hours of legal and the 1 hour of fair housing per year.
So you're gonna get legal and fair housing every year, then 3 other hours of whatever?
9 well, technically 9 per 3 years. So as terrible as it sounds, you could do nothing for 2 years and 11 months, and then
Yeah.
at the last month, whip off your 9 and be done. I'm fortunate that I have way above and beyond what's required all the time because I'm a little bit of an education junkie. I'm like you. If I'm either at a class or I'm teaching a class, because I care and I wanna know more, and the more that we know, the better we are, and the better we can serve our clients. So, but yeah, I mean, and honestly, even if they upped the CE, I don't know if that would for sure make a difference. It may not because people still have the ability to phone it in. But even if there were requirements of some sort, like where, you're unable to list a house on your own for the first year, well, that will immediately weed out some people that aren't serious, that won't want to be
Right.
supervised or won't want to report to someone. So then we've already raised the bar a little bit with that. And there have been a few of us that have advocated on and off through the years with Michigan Realtors. However, let's be honest, when there's a business, they make money. And the more people paying those license renewals, the more money they make. And so why would they want to make that number lower?
It is kinda disheartening, but at some point, it's gonna come to a head, whether it's gonna come through more lawsuits or through different regulations. So the question is, how do we make it better now? And that's by agents picking better brokers, just setting themselves up for success so that when the weeding out happens, the weeding out will be the ones who hopefully choose to weed themselves out, or maybe they'll decide to take more education and just get better and bring the bar up with them.
Right. Exactly. And, and I always believe if it's beyond my control, I will not stress about it. However, at least I know fully I can control things within my own office and environment and team, meaning every person that hangs their license with me is fully trained or fully supervised or seasoned, where at least I know I'm creating a difference within my own brokerage to make sure that I'm keeping that bar high. One of the issues I had at a large place I worked at was, to me, you're only as good as your lowest hanging fruit. And I didn't like working at a place that had people that were doing things that I watched that were not right and unethical and not good. And I thought, I'm going to create my own environment so that doesn't have to happen anymore.
I think that's a great point. You're only as good as your lowest hanging fruit. I might have to steal that sometime, sister, because that's very good life advice, too. All right. So, if anybody wants to reach out to you and find out more about the parts of Michigan that your offices serve, or even about your new commercial division, what is the best way for them to find Bethany Brokaw?
Well, they can go anytime on any of our websites, which is brokawgroup.com or brokawcommercial.com. And it's BROKAW, just like
That's like
Tom.
Tom.
Yep. I used to joke that he was my uncle. Once you get asked 200 times, you finally start saying, yep, that's my uncle, because you can't help it. But Brokaw Group or Brokaw Commercial, both of those will get you right to me or anyone else there with all kinds of great information about us. And we'd love the opportunity to interview with anyone and help serve them. And we love referrals, and we love giving referrals back to people as well.
And what classes do you teach?
I can teach the PMN designation for Women's Council of Realtors. And then I have a great little list. I have a listing domination course, crash pads and cash, unlocking Airbnbs for income potential, to team or not to team. That is the question. Assistant 101 is one of my other ones. The 8 mistakes rookies make. So those are my classes that I have right now. I'm a proud graduate of your speaker boot camp from a couple years ago, and I'm finally able to start to bring more of this to fruition. And I'll be in Chicago and DC and Grand Rapids and Ohio this year speaking. And next year, I hope to be in many more places as I keep getting everything, all the fun of owning a brokerage and being a mom and being a wife and all the things.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us, 1,000 different directions, because that's how we roll around here. But I'm very grateful that you talk about your story in such a way that it makes other people realize that the success is there for them too if they just decide to chase it. So I really appreciate you for giving us the big picture. And of course, all of Bethany's links are in the show notes for this episode, whether you want to talk to her about her classes or her brokerage or referrals. You can talk to her about anything. So make sure you reach out and then say something nice in the comments too, because obviously she's winning with not just the brow highlighter, but she's winning with real estate. So thank you so much for this.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, friends, hit the bell to subscribe. Don't forget to say something nice, and I'll see you next time. By the way, friends, don't miss my brand new coaching program at answers.realestate, where you can have access to Leigh Brown, submit your questions, have them answered, meet like-minded professionals, have an entire library to help you build your business no matter what happens in the market. Get signed up today. I promise you'll be glad you did. So if you found value in this episode, please like and subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell, and catch another amazing episode by clicking above. Crazy Shit in Real Estate is also available in all of your normal podcast apps. So if that's where you like to hang out, go find me, click subscribe, and most importantly, leave me a review that says you think I'm awesome, my guests are awesome, or this content is just exactly what you were looking for. And then, by the way, if there's something you need, you want to learn about something, you can comment below anytime. You can also send me a direct message if you need to remain anonymous. No judgment. But anyway, I'll only judge if you forget to subscribe and click. I'll see you next time.